All right. Finding angles measures using trig. Once again, I'll briefly talk about if you have a calculator that is not on your phone, you'll have to hit mode and make sure it's in degree mode. It should say DEG and be highlighted. In my opinion, finding angle measurements are a lot easier than doing finding sides. The only difference is we got to make sure we hit the buttons on the calculator a little differently because we want to use what we call the inverse function of trig. And as I go into number 1, I'll explain what that is. So we want to find our angle x. Notice our angle is where the variable is. So the variable is inside, not on a side. So there's the difference. Okay, so according to angle x, the one we want to find, 15 is in the opposite position, and 24 is across the 90, makes it the hypo. So you go to your 3 trig functions, and you identify which one is opposite and hypo, and we're going to use sine. But when you find an angle measurement, we're going to need to know we're going to have to use the inverse. And now we're going to be looking for this function on our calculator. Now, how this works is if you have a regular calculator that's not on your phone, you will see this symbol above the sine button. There should be a sign with the little -1. That's how you find an angle. So you'll have to hit second sine if you're using a calculator. If you're using your phone, you're going to hit it second. You're going to hit it like after. Here, let me just show you. All right, so here's how we do this. So sine, the inverse function of this angle x, is opposite over adjacent. And this is very easy to do. So if you're using your phone, here's your process. You're going to put this in your calculator and say 15 divided by 24. You're going to use this fraction bar as a division symbol. 15 divided by 24, and make sure your phone is sideways. Now, after you hit 15 divided by 24, there should be a second button, and then you're going to see this pop up where the SIN button was. So then you just hit that, and then it's going to turn it into a degree. If you're using a calculator not on your phone, you're going to hit second sine first, and you should see this on your screen. That's if you're not using a phone. This is what you should see. And then you put 15 divided by 24, hit equals. No matter what, if you're using your phone or a calculator, you should get a decimal. Yes, we can have degrees of measurements of angles as decimals. And in trig, we're going to have a lot of decimals. Your final answer should be right around 38.7, I rounded, degrees. So everybody should see that on your calculator. And you have to hit the second button to get to the sin to the negative first, the inverse function. And that's all there is to it. So let's do another one. Okay, according to angle x on number 2, opposite is over here and it's blank, so I will not use opposite. This is the hypo, and this is adjacent. So this is going to be cosine. Okay, so we're going to use the inverse function with the -1. Our angle x equals adjacent over hypo. So this is all we're putting in our calculator. After you either hit second cosine first, so you'll hit second cosine first if you're using a calculator, and then 8 divided by 11. If you're using a phone, you'll say 8 divided by 11 first. So 8 by 11 equals, and then hit second cosine. And when you hit second, you should see this on the button. So no matter what calculator you're using, the measurement that we're looking for is right around 43 degrees, 43 point, I don't know, I guess 43.34 degrees or 43.3 degrees is fine too. All right, number 3. So over here is the opposite. This is the hypo. I'm not using the hypo. The hypo is blank. So this is adjacent, so this is going to be a tan. So tan, we're going to make sure we know it's our inverse. So that's supposed to be a -1 of angle x equals, tangent says put opposite on top. That's why you must put 20 divided by 37. You got to put 20 in your calculator first. Make sure you're hitting your second button no matter what calculator you're using. But what you're supposed to get is right around, I'm going to say 28.4 degrees. You could put 28.39. No matter what, when you give me answers on tests or online assignments, you'll have the multiple choice anyway, and you'll be able to see which one to round to. All right, so all I'm going to do is show you how to set these up now. So here's your angle x. We're looking at this. This should be cosine for number 4 because your opposite is over here and it's blank. Cosine uses adjacent over hypo. So this should be our inverse operation, angle x equals, make sure you put adjacent in your calculator first. And I will give you this last answer here. I'm putting it in my calculator as we speak. I'll say right around 38.5 degrees. All right, so write yourself a little note maybe here. To find an angle, angles need the second button. If you know what you're doing, so you don't have to really worry about these 2 questions, just make sure. A lot of people ask me, I don't remember when to hit the second button or when not to hit the second button. Hit the second button when we're working with angles. Okay, when you're looking for sides, we are not hitting the second button. Number 7, real quick, showing you how to work with string or wire word problems. And we are going to be doing a lot of word problems with trig. Now, Jane is flying a kite. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little kite up here. String or wire never go straight up. Okay, wind blows, if it's a kite string, wind blows a kite at an angle. So I'm going to put my kite string in red, little angle like this, and it's always your hypo. String is always at a diagonal when you're hypo. Jane is flying a kite and lets off 275 feet of string. So hopefully, because of the way I drew this, you can tell that this is the string. So that is the hypo in our problem. If the kite is 150 feet above the ground, height is always your straight up and down vertical line, height. So there is your height. What angle does the string make with the ground? So you should, hopefully you know that the ground angle is going to be down here. So that would be your picture for number 7, and then we would follow the same steps we did for number 1 through 4. All right, so there is your video on finding angles using trig.